behind the days. And we're back behind the
Listeners, I would like to
desk.
apologize in advance
For the snacking that you're doing.
for this podcast.
Oh no! Oh jeez!
Luke has irritated Mel.
Oh my god. Stop taking your anger out on me. We're back behind the desk. That's Mel.
And you're Luke.
Yeah! For now, until she obliterates me. And this is behind the desk. We're back. Mel's been gone.
Now
Where
we
you
can
been?
afford craft services.
We can. We have M&Ms and chips and beer. We've always had the alcohol because we need it. Where have you been, Mel?
I have been in the South, in Tennessee.
In Texas?
No, not Texas.
Oh.
In Tennessee. I've been in Tennessee for 5 weeks.
Oh, you've been in Atlanta because there's peaches there.
No, I was in James and the Giant Peach in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Got it.
Yeah.
You were in William and the Ginormous Apple.
That is its formal name.
Uh-huh.
I was in it. I did it. I performed 38 times in
My God,
less than
how long
30
is the
days.
show?
It is 70 minutes long. 75.
How many shows a day were you doing?
Sometimes 1, sometimes 2, sometimes 3.
Sounds like an afternoon. That's fun.
It was a time of my life.
Yeah. Did you like Tennessee? You know, Mel, as we know, is Canadian. She doesn't experience the country of the, U.S. a whole lot. Rural county, as we'd
I
say.
loved it.
Did you? You liked it?
Yeah, I did. I like small towns. I like the feeling. I like the feeling of small towns and getting to know people and being
Why?
recognized as a famous celebrity.
People would recognize you around town?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, hey.
I actually went to Olive Garden.
Yeah?
Just like after the show one day with my friend Emily, and this little girl was sitting at the next table, and she went, "That's Sponge!" And she came up and took a picture with me while I
played
was halfway
anti-Sponge,
through my salad. Which
That's
was
amazing.
such a wonderful time. And she was like, "Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt your dinner, but I want a picture with you." And
That's
I was like,
amazing.
I'm a celeb.
And also, you told me some of the little peoples down there in Tennessee, even like I don't know why they're kids that are listening to us, but listen to the podcast. So, hi.
Young adults.
All right, young adults, that's fine. I mean, that's acceptable. I cuss too much on this for this to be acceptable for children.
Yeah.
But hey, you should tell them like that we're talking about them.
We are talking about them.
Because you don't have to listen to this podcast in order. There's no story arc here.
Not at all.
Just our lives that are constantly in chaos, So you enjoyed it. You did James and the Giant Whale, and
James and the Giant Whale. That is what I did.
yeah.
I loved it, but we are talking today about non-union contracts.
especially
Which
since
you
Mel
know-
just came off of
You
one.
know nothing about.
I do. I did non-union contracts. It's just not been. It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
No, I think it's. I mean, there's a lot to be said for non-union versus union, which we have had a discussion of many times. Recently brought to light in my life and the life of a few close friends have been how outrageous the contracts can be for people who are doing really good work.
Yeah, and I think it's. I mean, it's not like some revelation that we're having like necessarily just now that like non-union contracts are like so shitty. I think it's that we've just had a lot of friends like, and including Mel, we've just had a lot of offers recently that are like obscene though, because I've had other friends in the past couple of years. It's different when you're going to do like a summer stock and they say, hey, we're not going to pay for your traveling. You're all living in a big house though. And you're making like $300, $350 a week, and you're going to do like 8 shows, and it's like kind of a hell summer, but also like an amazing summer. That's kind of the stuff I've been like used to hearing, or I'm just, in non-union contracts that are at least $300, $350, $400, like somewhere in that range. That seems pretty normal for a regional type thing, especially going into these summer stocks. It should be at least that, but these literally, I mean, between you and multiple other friends hearing $100, $150 a week.
$200.
I don't even know, like, what your travel stipend, if you have that, is. Like, what the housing
the option
look like.
to make money serving.
No,
Or,
fuck that.
hopefully making money doing odd jobs or whatever the town allows you to do.
On top of doing your shows, which no doubt, like, you don't know how those directors, choreographers, MDs are going to be, who are also relying on their theater to make it and their portfolios, and working you to the grind while
really
you do
hard.
other jobs.
I think it comes, one of my friends made a really good point, was I wasn't paying rent when I was away, but if I was, that's like a huge chunk of your money being taken. And if you find a subletter, great.
Right.
But, you still got to make up rent. Whenever you come back, you've lost, like, that amount of money. Blah, 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 blah. There's, like, a multitude of things that are happening.
Keep talking.
And also, like, non-union contracts, I think they're really wonderful in a lot of ways. You get to work, different parts of production, which you don't always get to work.
Sorry, I was fussing with the radiator because it was sissing. Psst. Anyway, yes, no, that's a benefit, sure.
It can be. I mean, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I mean, I am, you know that. I'm interested in production and, like, that kind of side of things. I enjoy it, so I don't mind doing that sort of thing, but I know that some people do and would rather just focus on the acting and the doing versus, like, and I mean, it's not like they ask you every day to do crazy amounts of things. It's just, at the beginning of the contract, can you help out with, like, scenery or help out with that kind of thing, and then at the end of the contract you work with strike. Because there's not always, like, full production staffs to help out.
Yeah, but, in somebody like you, I think this is... You, in my personal opinion, are so far above that, and you should be equity, and, there's, that's a whole other conversation, but, at what point of your life are you okay with going, all right, I'm going to take this non-union contract in nowhere, Tennessee. It's going to be like something, this is not obviously like what you made, but I'm just using this as like a metaphor, as like something like $200, and they're going to be like, by the way, you also have to do a shit ton of other tech work. Like, when do you, like, at what point in your career, like, do you decide, okay, this I'm going to do, I'm going to take the hit, put my stuff in a storage locker, or, like, I don't have any things tying me down as an apartment. Well, I'm just going to, like, do the gig for the, credit. And then at what point, like, where you're at, where I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like, you are past that point where it's like, you shouldn't be making chump change. You shouldn't be doing a shit ton of extra jobs. You should be further along. And I know there's tiers to non-equity work, but some of it, I don't know where I'm going with this, but it just seems ridiculous.
Back to, like, how much experience you have. I mean, I only entered this field professionally in 2016. It's the beginning of 2018. So for me, it's paying my dues, and I'm happy to do it.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be traveling and moving and grooving. I mean, I think it goes back to our enough is enough kind of conversation that we had.
Yeah,
which
I was
is
thinking
like,
about that too.
I don't have a family tying me anywhere. I don't have, like, children. I think for me, that's when it would be too much, unless you...
Yeah. But you had people on that contract that were much older than you. You were the youngest one, yeah?
One of, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, like, where your path takes you. Like, if you still get excited about contracts like that, knowing what you're getting into, like, then sure, do it. But
and also, it's like, if that's your... If that is it. That's where you're going.
Yeah, if that's the end of the road for you. If that's
and
where,
recognizing
like,
that's
plateauing, then that's where you're plateauing, and that's.
But somebody who's your age, that is not your plateau. That is far from it, And how much longer do you think you, Mel, will keep doing stuff like this?
If I'm, like, 30 and doing that contract only, like, specifically that.
Like, if you're not EMC and you're not, like, getting any kind of...
Yeah, and, like, the end, like, that's the biggest contract, that's when I would be like, what else
I'd pull the plug. I'd be like... I mean, and plus I would just be like, well, the acting thing's not clearly, like, panning out the way I want it to, so I'm going to figure out some other way to be involved in the industry that I love and go a different route. or completely diverge. But yeah, I would agree. I'd be like, fuck this, can't do it anymore.
Yeah, and I think it also, at the end of the day, is like, when you feel you've paid your dues. I think we all have those moments. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm 34, 35, and I was like, I've paid my dues. Like, it's done.
Yeah.
Like, I've put in the work. I've put in a lot of the work, and it's over.
Yeah.
Like, that's when I would call it. But for me, it's like, it's still a building block, and I still believe there should be building blocks.
Yes.
For me. Mm-hmm. And finding where I fit and what I do. And I'm, it was the contract was so great because I got to wake up every day and focus on what I love to do.
Yeah.
And it was enough to keep me happy and sane and stable. And, if one other thing was different, maybe it would have been atrocious. But it was perfect for me.
I have, observation, but also just thing I'm noticing about, talking about paying your dues. I don't know, like, necessarily how much more. I mean, other than the fact that, like, you were more, opera-centered, obviously, than I was. I did musical theater in high school. I actually did some, like, as a kid. Did it in college, did some in the community outside, and then I branched out to, like, reaching that regional level. Still did several equity shows without myself having an equity contract, and then got to equity. But it's still, like, my trajectory, which is very different from yours, because I never was in the opera world, and I'm also just from America, as we know, is no different than the bulk majority of people that are trying to do this career. So many people, like, did a few things as a kid, or have, like, started since they were a kid, the dance, music, instruments, whatever, did the thing in high school, did the thing in college, and are struggling in different ways.
Well, I also think, it goes back to the conversation we were having a couple nights ago with other friends of ours, which was just like, it again goes back to when is enough, and like, if you're 20, your mid-20s, and you're receiving accolades and encouragement and motivation from people you trust and love, that gives you a big boost. But if you're later in your career and those same people are the only people that keep saying those things, that's when I would have to start to reconsider.
Okay.
And it's people you love and you trust and you have always supported you. If they're saying the exact same things 8-10 years from now, that's when I would be like, what is my life?
I hear you. I want to, like, delve.
But when you hear it beginning of career, it's a whole different way of receiving that.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
And it makes you want it more versus, like, when it just sounds like a broken record.
For our, like, younger audience that we're, like, talking about, what's your gripe with these non-ac contracts? Like, I want to hear, having been, like, more recently around that, like, what do you expect? What did you hate? What did you love? What's the dish?
Like, I'm not like a stickler for equity rules, but it's just like, in an equity contract, you're usually surrounded by people who've been in the equity, so they've been around the block.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're in non-union houses, you're not around people who have been in those professional settings before. Mm-hmm. And if you're a person who needs certain things before going on a stage, or you need, like, your certain warm-up or whatever have you, when you're in a non-union house, it kind of feels like you've no right to demand that.
Yeah, and that you seem like a brat for, like, asking for things that are very normal, like, human rules.
And if you have, like, in a non-union house, you have no right to demand, or you have no right to say, that's not my job. So, like, when a prop goes missing, it's everyone's job, because there's no, like, set, this is a prop master.
Yeah.
This falls under that. Or, like, when, a note is said, and I mean, I don't even know if it's a non-union versus union thing, like, I think it must be
No,
like
it
just
is.
an actor
That
thing.
no no
That
no no
was, that
no
what I just said was,
I was
but then
literally
my
just
next
thinking
point.
about how, just side note, about how the moment I win equity, every single contract I've had since then, I've finally gotten to do the thing that we all just want to do, which is like I show up and do my job, which is to do the damn show and to focus on me and nothing else. And nothing else is expected of me either. Yeah, if something like that happened, they'd be like, no, you need to go like focus on like your stuff. That is your job. That's what we're paying you to be here to do.
The biggest difference in that I've seen or I've heard from friends is just like in non-union houses there is still the expectation, even if you're a professional, that you're not fully professional.
Yeah.
There is still room for growth. There is still room for learning. And on one hand, well, that is beautiful for young actors.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, that's why a lot of people say, stay out of the union while you're young.
Mm-hmm.
It can be so double-edged sword.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
If you're in a beautiful learning, educational environment, and you stay non-union, you go to regional house, and it's the same kind of environment, you can go back into old, terrible college habits of, like, everyone needs to be friends in the cast, or, like, you
and I
always need to do.
I don't feel that way at all anymore. I'm there to do a fucking job, and that's
right,
it.
and I just think the line gets blurred versus, like good time versus job. When you're not in a union that specifies what the job is.
Right.
And in some ways it can be so wonderful.
And it's still, it's still awesome. Like, it's what we want to do, but it's so different.
But, you know, and I'm not saying, like, casts can't be friends or you can't form beautiful bonds with people, but just, like, I feel in a non-union world there's more pressure to be nice. And, like, make a more...
Yeah, the professionalism looks very different.
Make a more, like, camaraderie experience versus like a professional, this person comes in and does their job, this person comes in and does their job, versus like we're a family.
Okay,
we're
so
a team.
if it stayed non-ec, like even if you're still, it's a non-ec show, non-ec contract, all that jazz, and everybody still came in, they have their job to do, and they're treated as such. The difference is, you know, pay isn't necessarily the same, health, pension, all that jazz, as like having equity and being a part of the union. Do you think that would benefit everybody, or do you think that educational aspect of, like, doing these extra jobs and, like, do you think that's something that's still needed, or do you think that's solely based for, needed. Like, literally just for college, you know?
I think it's needed, but I think there has to become a time when you as an actor need to take it into your own hands. Like...
And stop.
I feel like equity, with or without knowing so, raises the bar a little bit. Like, so you walk in and... you're expected to know your role and you're expected to bring ideas to the table versus, you know, sometimes in non-union houses, no matter what time, however they set it up, it's like, well, we can explore together.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great point to hit on that, like, and you did this, I mean, especially you were already fucking around with Sponge before you ever, like, left. I mean, I know that you're going to take it and you're going to own it and make it your own thing.
I'm a, you know, type A person. Like, I'm just
no, but I feel like
I stress out.
If you want to get further, though, like in the non-ec world, and work again at those companies, I'm not saying, like, don't make friends or don't socialize or don't have fun, but I think... yeah, you have to keep yourself to a high standard as well. It's like, you know, they say if you ask for pennies, you're gonna get pennies. If you ask for dollars, you're gonna get dollars. So hold yourself to the higher standard,
right? And I think
even if it makes you the unpopular person in the cast, because unfortunately you're probably gonna get a job again. Fortunately,
union, like, and I mean maybe it's just like my crazy experiences. But it's like, it's hard to separate stage versus on stage versus off stage.
Yeah.
Like, my on stage persona, whoever I'm playing, is very different than an off stage persona. Because that's how I feel I work best. Like, I'm a very, well, you know, you're my friend. I'm a very open, fun, energetic person. But before I perform, I need to go through my own process.
Yeah, same. Yeah, too.
And it's, like, very interesting to see that kind of melting pot of different experiences come out in a non-union world.
Yeah.
Because not everyone got the same training, not that everyone should, but it's, like, like I said, the line between job and life is very different when you're not being like. There's also the sense of like, it's this show.
Right. All right. Well, bring it full circle here on our on our downtrodden episode about non-ec contracts.
No, not downtrodden. Excellent building blocks.
Yeah, we put a lot of good foundation in that.
Excellent building blocks. That's
I
not
agree.
what I said. I said excellent building blocks.
No. I know. I'm just.
And if you stay non-union for your whole life and you get paid, way to go.
And you love it, I say do it. But, I don't know, what was I trying to get at? It's just like these non-union contracts. One of our really good friends that got offered several contracts this past season, just because he's a pretty good strong singer, a pretty good strong dancer, he can act, he can do all the things. He got offered many things, and many of them just were so not worth his time. I think don't sell yourself short with some of these bullshit offers that come out. Know your value, know your place in your career, and just don't be...
it's okay to say no.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't be afraid to say no.
Does not mean you have to take whatever is given to you like you're the bottom of a pile.
Right.
Non-union does not mean non-talented.
Right. Even at even like at an equity level, I know I'm not making bank on like any of my contracts necessarily. I'm making okay money, but like you still have to look at it, even if it's non-ec, as a job and say, okay, if I was working at some other store, am I okay with making $200 a week for a job that I'm spending 80 hours a week doing? So just, yeah, don't be afraid to say no. Know who you are, know where you're at in your career, and also don't be afraid to lean on friends. And don't take something or be afraid to ask for more because you're feeling self-conscious about the offer. Transparency is an important thing, and we should all lean on each other, in those moments and say, hey, do you think this is a good idea?
And I really think it goes down to we can talk about this in another episode, but it just is like respect for your fellow actor.
Mm-hmm.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
Union, non-union, theme parks, corporate dance, actor, singer, whatever the fuck you are. I don't.
Circus clown,
whatever
figure
you
skater.
Are, you don't know
Balloon
people's
twister.
process. You don't know where they've come from. You don't know what they've been through to get to that contract. Exactly. Or, if it's their first contract, if it's their 50th contract, just respect everyone's process and way of being. Unless it's like physically endangering you. Yeah. Like just accept everything you have with gratitude and an open heart, and don't just be yourselves. Don't think you have to be an equity actor or a professional actor or like just do your process and your thing and be your human. And I swear it will work so much better than trying to be this or trying to be that.
Hell yeah. As we talk to ourselves, too. Dope. We're going to wrap this up. We're back behind the desk. We're together in the same city, which is so dope. We hit a milestone of 500 downloads. That was, like, super awesome.
Oh, yeah.
If you take 5 seconds, if you're listening, to pull out your phone, hit 5 stars on iTunes if you want to rate us that much and write us a review. That is the way that other people discover us, which is happening more and more. People are discovering us in random states around the country. Because it's popping up on their recommended list.
You haven't even been.
Yeah, but we're going to have a special guest on the podcast next week. Hang in there with the last bit of the audition season. Push through. You got this. It's April. We got this. lukewarmmelon@gmail.com, and also lukewarmmelon at, what is it? Instagram. Oh my god. I was about to say podcast. Anyway, that's it. Behind the desk. I'm Luke.
I know.
Get out of here!